the mission. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the Town of Pownell Special Select Board meeting on May 2nd, 2024 at 5 p.m. We'll call the meeting to order. Board member roll call.
Angie Rowling.
Carl Strohmeyer.
Mike Gardner.
Amy Percy.
William Cottrell. Everyone rise for the pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Approval of the agenda, review of town policies, discussion of policies, possible changes and or additions to policies, public comment and adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Anything, any adjustments to the, additions or corrections to the agenda? All those in favor?
Aye.
Review of town policies. Oh.
Well, where do you want to start?
I think do we go in the list? The way you sent them or?
Totally up to you. I'm organized enough to go wherever you want to go.
What's your pleasure?
The first would be, I guess, the mission statement.
Mission vision statement?
Yeah.
These didn't have a date on them when they were worked on, but they're fairly new, I think.
Everyone read that?
Yep.
May have any changes to it?
Nope.
No, no specific changes. In the past, we've done formats with like, you just do a standardized format around and then you insert the policy.
Mhm.
So maybe doing, you have the title at the top where it's a policy name and then we could do review dates.
Mhm.
And then like a review date and then a to be reviewed date. So it's like, don't create it necessarily every time, but we could create one that's a standard format.
Then I can just cut and paste into.
Right.
And then
Exactly.
all of the policies can have matching format.
So you're talking like that on the top or on the bottom, right?
Well, you could do both. So like we would do the title and then who wrote it maybe and stuff like that and the dates. And then the bottom would be, you review it every 2 years, or we could create a policy like that's certain.
A policy on the policies?
Well, policies should be reviewed.
How often we should review? And different policies need to be reviewed at different times.
Exactly.
I think this is a good thing to do annually though, from here on out, just to get the board familiar, new board members familiar with the old policies. And then I can share them with all the employees that they affect.
I know there's one policy in particular that we, in my opinion, we need to focus on right away.
Okay.
That's the social media policy and stuff. It's so outdated. It's
Yeah, it's so outdated.
And I agree, they all have to be in the same format, so
I
that,
think you could put those two that you sent in that one email together,
yeah,
instead of having two different.
The social media and.
Well, the two mission statements
Oh,
that she,
yeah.
those two you could combine
Yes,
and
I think you're absolutely right. The
Yeah, that
mission
can be
and vision,
combined,
I agree
absolutely.
with that. For sure. So let's say we can combine those two,
yep.
all right? So we're gonna go to, policies required by law. The anti-idle policy is pretty self-explanatory.
Yep.
And that was for a grant.
Yep. Emergency action plan. Everyone get a chance to read that over? Everybody's comfortable with that?
Yep.
Let me just pull it up.
And then I was wondering, do we have a first aid kit here
Yes.
and everybody knows where it is?
Yes.
Okay.
There's also a binder for reporting accidents or injuries.
Okay, and that's at every facility? Okay. And everybody has an employee that's trained in first aid or CPR?
I don't believe so.
that was part of
That is part of,
health and safety.
Yes.
That was gonna be my part of, we don't So all employees, it says CPR and AED.
Right.
And then, yeah, that was part of what I,
What
For that policy.
Or do you want us trained in CPR and first aid? I can look into it.
Any place that I've ever worked, and same with my husband, they have a designated person that either volunteers or whatever. And they're always, first of all, they offer first aid and CPR to anybody that wants it. But there's always somebody specific that is trained in it to be in a certain building or a certain location.
Okay.
Well, I think at least basic, if not everybody's comfortable doing CPR.
Exactly, but at least basic first aid.
First aid.
Yes,
Because if somebody
Well, yes,
whacked up in a piece of equipment or whatever, and
right. And need to know what to do and, because when things happen, I mean, I've been in numerous things where things have happened and it's scary and you kind of lose your head for a second. Like at the gas station, a fire, I mean, you kind of like freak out for a second, but you got to stay calm, cool and collected and you really need somebody to do that.
Do you guys have an AED device at the garage, town garage? Do you know?
I don't think we do. I think feel like the transfer station does. I'm not
you
positive.
have one here?
No.
No.
don't have one here.
And is there one at
I
the
thought we had one.
I'm not even sure the transfer
sewer
might
department?
be an eye wash station.
There is an I one.
I'm not sure if they even have.
That was another question.
I've never
I had
noticed one
too.
in the town garage, that's why I was asked.
Mike, can we reach out to one of the fire departments? Are they the ones that get it or is
What's
it?
that?
The rescue squad.
Rescue squad.
Oh, the rescue
And
squad.
generally, the rescue squad, your local rescue squad will offer the first aid need,
Yeah,
so.
So wait, one person from each facility should be trained in first aid and CPR? Or do you want me to look into group training?
No, I would offer a group training.
Yes.
because you never know who's
I would like
here.
to see, I would like to see. a
As many
group
people
training.
as
I
possible.
kind of would too, actually.
Yes.
Because our road crew not necessarily is gonna be the same
Everywhere.
2 or 3 or 5
Right,
guys, or whatever
right.
guys together. It could be all 5 of them could be together, or it could be just 2, or.
Right.
So if, if they're matched up, I would like to see each one be able to
Right.
Did get-
at least start the process.
We did get the MSHA training the other day, and I think part of the requirement of that is having first aid
Yeah.
every year or every so often, so.
So let's look into that, and we should add that into,
And then do you want me to look into AED equipment at each of our places also?
I think we should have one here.
Definitely one here and one at the sewer department, I would think.
Well, I think we should reach out to, before we just go ahead and get them, for the town garage, the transfer station and the
Yeah.
sewer treatment plant.
Mhm.
Because I think if you have one there and there's very seldom if there's anybody in the building, what's the sense in having it there?
Right.
Right. Well,
Possibly have one in the foreman's truck.
well, that's where I was going with that. Maybe we do look into having one in one of the town vehicles that's always on the road.
Yeah.
Right, and maybe,
And
And that's what the-
apply for safety grants or passive for certain things.
Yeah.
Check to see if AED.
Right.
That is one of.
and I don't even know a whole, I've been trained in them and I don't know a whole bunch about them, but I would like to see, I'd like to see one that's accessible.
I think we should definitely have one here,
Definitely have one here.
especially if we're gonna have voting here.
In the other town hall.
I think
I know they do have to inspect them, just the battery and stuff, but I mean,
they're only good for so many years.
6 months that they do that. I
There, but Bill, there isn't one up at the old town office, is there?
don't think so.
There
It
was,
seemed like there was.
yeah, there was one
It
there.
seemed like there was one on the wall.
I don't think I.
That's irrelevant. Let's look into it.
Yeah.
For sure. And let's look into getting, all of the town employees,
Okay, first aid, yeah.
the first aid and basic first aid and.
Yeah, I believe it's a
CPR and
2-year, once you're.
Yeah, it is.
I believe it's a 2-year thing, so.
And that'll go into our emergency action plan somewhere.
Yep.
We'll add that in there. That all employees will be, basic first aid and CPR.
Mhm.
Mhm.
All right?
And any policies that I change, I'll bring back to
Right.
the next regular meeting
Okay.
with
Yes.
those changes.
Please.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a great point about the first aid stuff.
Emergency action, is that? So I'd say, we'll pull up here now, but the emergency action plan, will that be on the health and safety plan or the emergency action plan?
They're two separate.
Yeah,
That'd be under emergency, I believe.
Well,
I was thinking health and,
they might go, it might go to the health and safety, might be better. I
I can't see,
You might be right, Lynn. Yeah.
whole pull up for some reason.
Oh, mine won't.
It's there, you got a double, oops.
You're lucky, the only one with the.
Oh, there I go. I got it. Health and safety. There we go.
Safety coordinator.
Cause it already says all employees will be CPR and AED certified,
Right.
page 2 of the health and safety plan. So,
That's what I was looking for, cause I thought it was
Yeah.
in there,
Yeah,
but.
I think I wrote down safety coordinator. The only reason, I'm not sure if it names out the safety coordinator in that, but it had old names in there.
Yeah,
Look,
well, it
that's what
states,
So,
data administrator.
Whatever.
so we got on-
Yeah, and the health and safety plan, is that one that you're talking about?
let's stay on this one for a second, the emergency action plan, don't jump around too much.
Yep.
In the emergency action plan, I'd like to have, our emergency management coordinator, I'd like to have Craig look at this
Mhm.
emergency action plan and get his input on this, if there needs to be any changes from what he can see. Because we do have him in place and it is kind of his strong point anyway.
Mhm.
I mean, there's a few things, but I don't wanna.
I didn't know if we should, I don't know if we should add anything about, electric cars, their batteries.
that's more of a fireman.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
that's not-
okay.
that's not our-
Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
I'd like to have Craig look at that emergency action
Yep.
plan,
No, definitely.
just to have him go over it and there may be something he sees that's totally crazy. Health and safety plan, right?
Yep.
Come on. Open up,
There's mine.
So the health and safety plan is the one that has the wrong names in it?
Yes, and it also refers to town administrator, and I didn't know if we would want to change that.
Yeah, we would want to change that.
The emergency action plan, such 2019.
Do you want
We updated.
the town safety coordinator is likely the executive assistant, so change it across, just change the town safety coordinator.
Instead of administrator would be to
Executive.
you.
It should come to the executive assistant.
Yes, and if that's the only change in there, I don't see why we would have to bring that back.
Which policy was that?
Health and safety.
Health and safety.
The rest of that, pretty much is boilerplate.
Yeah, it's, the only other thing about the health and safety is where the first aid portion of it.
And this is required by passive.
Uh,
I don't know if it says anything about, health and safety committee on page 9. Or maybe it's number 9. Let's see.
Yeah, it said, yeah, I remember seeing that. It says,
Safety and health committee responsible.
because it also has a select person and
So we
does
don't,
that
I
mean
don't
we
know.
have to appoint somebody or any select person? That was my question. Do we even have,
We
do they even meet?
No, we don't have a committee. for health and safety. So should I just remove that part?
Is that required that we have to have that or
I
no?
don't believe so, no.
If it's not required, I don't have a problem with that being removed.
And that just fall on the select board. In case there's an incident that happens.
Right.
I could be wrong.
Because it says, safety coordinator, administrator, select board member, citizen and highway crew, transfer station. Crew, that could all be removed if we don't have to have it.
Could be our 3 foremen and the board. Right, executive assistant.
To Tara, can you look and see if we need to have that in there, safety and health committee?
I'll look into it, but if we don't need it, I'll just take it out.
I think so.
Yeah, I think that would be best. And then everything else seemed fine to me.
Everybody good with that?
Mm-hmm.
Just on the top and on the bottom, town administrator needs to be changed.
Unless you guys want a safety committee in there, I don't know if we really need one, but
I,
record retention,
Necessarily.
what's that?
no,
I don't think so. Record retention schedule,
that's more of a state. This is like that's,
this is a mandatory thing and that's,
Yeah.
it's just, this is a boilerplate. So I think we can leave that one alone.
yeah, it's just based on state statute.
Anybody have anything on that?
No,
You know,
I can just look for updates if there's any updates to it. I'll just-
you bugger.
The transitional return to work program?
That's just the workman's comp, the boilerplate thing, just like you said.
Yep. Boilerplate return to work policy.
That's, I remember it, it's basically right out of, VLCTs.
Public record inspection.
I didn't know if we should add the price of what we charge in that policy or not.
I thought that also to include that little bit of after a half hour. It's so.
Right, because I think we should put that in there. That way if people look that up, they'll see that. And we have a policy on that somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of it's governed by state.
Right.
It's right here, it's already in there, I thought it was.
It
We
should-
should just update it to current pricing, I guess is what Angie's saying.
Right, the current
It's at the
price.
bottom. You're saying to put the actual, what we actually charge?
Yes.
These,
Oh, okay, because it's already in here, the
Right.
cost of staff time associated with.
Right, but what we would charge,
Okay,
because sometimes that makes a difference of what people want.
okay, no, it does.
Yes, it does.
but I thought we had listed it, but it must be under.
It's under different,
It's not, I did it and like, we've used it in email and stuff, but it's never formally.
Formally.
A policy.
I'm not sure, but I thought Rebecca wrote something up and we approved it. But I
Yes,
think we should put it in with that.
Yeah.
Please.
Maybe I didn't find that in my piles. I'll
How-
make sure it's.
You only got a couple piles. I don't know what your problem is.
Oh,
Next one is just the basic workman's comp policy.
Yeah,
that's.
Everybody good with that one?
Mhm.
the workman's comp, when it says, okay, do I have that on here? I didn't know if we should add a time, because I know in places that I've worked, there's always been a time that you have to report an incident with your paperwork within 24 hours for the supervisor. I didn't know if that's something we should add.
Oh, first.
That's on our, I think that's on our health and safety plan, so
Yeah.
any injury should be. reported.
Any injury
Okay.
has to be reported through there.
Okay,
Right, so you would be reporting
okay.
within 24 hours.
I didn't know if we needed to add it into that, into there somewhere.
Yep.
All right.
Where are we going next?
Policies in review.
My next was, because I went by what she sent was cash receipts, but I
Yep.
don't know.
Also treasurer specific policies.
Nope.
No.
Nope. You had, policies. Your next email was policies in review.
Yeah, but policies to review is our next one here.
Okay.
Cash receipt, petty cash, return check policy.
Sorry, I didn't know I put that one in that group.
Well, this is a different group.
Can't find them.
Four, boom, now we got her, boom.
Anybody see anything that I want to change?
No,
The only thing that I had put down was, for payee, should we add, because we do have where you can pay online now, correct?
But they still are a payee.
There's still a payees, okay.
Well, this is cash receipts, petty cash and return, so the online wouldn't.
Be that.
Okay.
that generates a separate receipt also, the way that system's set up.
Everybody's good there?
Good.
Conflict of interest policy. I think well, this one not too long ago.
Yeah,
This, yeah, you did just go over this because this is the one that we use to
That was
address concerns
hard.
with Bill being on the board.
Right.
pretty straight.
It's pretty straightforward. Everybody good?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Just gonna do like a mass update on format to do this. So it includes the review date and the effective date and all of that.
This is, the next one is for continuing education and use of the town's attorney.
I don't know.
Can I request an update to this one? I don't care for the way it says staff cannot hire the town's attorney. I feel like it should be, any undesignated person shouldn't be able to do it. Or like not one board member contacting the
The
attorney.
select board in total. Not an individual select board member.
Right, do you feel like that's stated clearly there?
I can't bring it up and I remember reading it, but I can't bring it
That's
up.
all it is. So
Okay.
one.
I think I wrote on it, I don't like it for my comments.
See, is at the
How would you
bottom.
revert it?
Staff cannot hire town attorney without select board approval. And I guess, it should, you're saying, and I think I'm agreeing you or staff and or an individual of the town, including select person.
Or you could say any or all staff, elected officials and employees must,
Only by approval of the entirety of this, or of the select board.
Yeah, or
Attorney will be hired upon approval or select board. approval.
So the continuing education thing is, this is very vague, to be
Yeah.
honest with you, right? And a policy shouldn't have, I guess this is just a memorandum, so it's fine. But policy shouldn't
Yeah.
have
name,
names in there, who did it. No, and I don't even see where this is signed.
right.
is the continuing education, does anybody know off the top of their head, is it in the personnel policy?
I thought that was in,
Might be.
it's listed in a personnel policy. I'm
We
pretty
could
sure.
add that very easily to the personnel
Well,
policy.
that's what I was thinking. This one here should just be a policy for the use of the town's attorney,
Mm-hmm.
okay? And the continuing education should go in our personnel policies.
And I believe it is, and so I don't know why it's in
Okay,
two
so I'll
places.
make sure it's there, and if it's not, I'll add it.
Right, and I think if we do add the personnel policy or add it to the personnel policy, then I think it should be
I'll look here.
discussed and approved before. Because let's face it, I mean, you usually know a couple of weeks ahead, right? If you're gonna try to continue your education.
Yeah,
Right.
a class comes up. Yeah.
That's
It's on section 30 of the personnel policy.
But that's easy as an email saying to the chair, my opinion. There's a class offer that I'm interested in, that this is the price, it's within my budget for my education.
Mhm.
May I take this? Yes or no?
Well, I'm fine if you wanna leave it up to the chair with me, I'm fine with
Well,
it, but.
rather than have to convene the whole board, I,
I'm fine with it. But
Bill has the personnel policy though, what does
Yep.
it say there?
The town encourages continuing education to town employees and may cover any related costs pending prior approval from the select board or select board authorized representative.
yes.
A record of each educational milestone satisfactorily completed by an employee must be kept as part of the employee's personal record. Such accomplishments by employees may be given consideration and the departmental promotions and merit pay increase.
Correct.
I think that addresses it.
Covered it right.
That covers that.
Okay.
Yep, okay, that's fine.
So now it's just the use of the town's attorney. I think that's what I should word.
Yeah.
And bring back.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, because all select persons can contact VLCT as individuals and
But that, yeah, and that's different than the town attorney.
then depending on what your answer is, you bring it back to the board and say, this is what I asked this and how I asked it. This is, do we feel we need clarification from our town attorney? And we can move forward.
Because the town attorney is the town's attorney,
Correct.
not the. That's where the difference kind of is.
Right. And we already paid dues to VLCT, therefore.
Not that the select board can actually get our passwords to get in there, but,
I just sent them an email.
oh, you did?
I just sent them emails when I have questions or I call, depending on what the situation is.
Well, I've been trying, never mind. Well, that's another discussion.
I just,
Figure that out.
How do we, how do you want to handle the town attorney? Select board members. Portion of it.
You want prior authorization of the whole board before one person can contact, right? Regardless of whether you're a board member or staff.
I think use of VLCT,
Well.
Unless it's an emergency,
So I think,
emergency situations, maybe,
but there's been a couple of times when we have had to reach out to the town attorney without being able to have
Board meeting.
a board meeting.
right, and that's
Right.
when we reach out to the chair, and that's why we usually, we have in the past given the chair capability of reaching out.
I think, so I've given this some thought, to be honest with you. I think that because we can't do a 3-person things at the
Email.
meeting,
Yep.
right?
Mhm.
But if we were to give the chair, no matter who it is, authorization to reach out to the town attorney. And I don't know the proper wording here, but have the chair, whoever it is, reach out to the vice chair. So
Executive assistant.
well, she's gonna be, the executive assistant will be the one reaching out to the attorney more than likely.
Right,
Right, so if the chair were to have the authorization to reach out to the town attorney, I think it should just for checks and balances. I think you should have to reach out to another board member, or at least reasonable effort
mhm.
to reach out to another board member before even the chair has the ability to
That's the question.
contact the town's attorney.
Okay.
So if we come up with something, Tara, or say something happens tomorrow, right, and she were to call me, the way I look at it, she were to call me up and say, hey, we gotta reach out to the town's attorney. I think the policy should state that the chair has the authority, but should try to reach out to another board member
Mhm.
so that.
Call down the list. You call Angie, get all Angie, call,
That's fine, Carl. I mean,
you call down the list until you get somebody.
I just think it should have a checks and balance.
Yeah.
Rather, so the chair doesn't just have the authority either to just jump in and say, okay,
Well-
we're calling the town attorney on this, right? And I mean, I could,
Just relate to calls, it's emails too.
No, well,
That was an issue in the past, so.
right, and what I was gonna suggest is if it's an email, then say you're emailing the town attorney, the chair and one other select person is also copied on it. Not that they're gonna chime in to the question, but at least,
There's CC.
yeah, I just think we need to check and balance because we've had this. It happened last year,
Yeah.
several times.
Well,
It's happened in the past. and
6, 7 years ago, it was crazy.
It was, yeah, so I think we need to check and balance. I think that if there's something coming up,
Do we run?
any board, so I guess we could go like this, right? So if something happens, William finds something out and we gotta do the town's attorney, right?
Yeah.
So he goes to Tara.
Right.
Right, and says, hey, we need to contact the town's attorney, then contact me, and then we covered our two.
You've got, right,
Right, so we don't have to worry about making a call.
correct.
If it's a select board member, right? But if Tom needs an attorney's
Yeah.
opinion on something, right, the town's attorney, and we can't get it through VLCT,
Right.
then he's gonna come to Tara, right? That's gonna be our policy.
Yep.
She's gonna come to me at this point, be up the board chair.
Yep.
And then I'm gonna start right down the line, right? Angie, whatever,
Boom, boom,
until I
boom.
get another person.
Yep.
And we're gonna contact the town's
Yep.
attorney. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I just think the checks and balances for me was something that didn't happen.
Do we want to put in any kind of notification where Tara would send out an email to the rest of the board stating that there was an emergency?
Yep.
And this is what happened?
Yep,
Okay.
yep, no, that's a good idea, Carl.
Yep.
I thought about that.
No, that-
Good idea.
Definitely.
That way everybody's in the loop.
Yes.
Yeah.
And nobody's left out,
Nobody's
nobody
left out,
just, nobody just
blindsided.
jumps in, calls the town's attorney because they want to have, an opinion on
And
something
if you
because,
have a different question or an idea on it, then as an individual, we can.
well, I think,
Then,
Well, at that point, we'll have enough time in between the initial contact where we'll be able to have a meeting.
right, we'll be able to have a special meeting.
but if not, at
That's right.
least if you have a, then you can send it to Tara, and by the time she gets
But we would have
the
enough time,
attorney's message back, it may be answered.
we would have enough time to, well, we definitely would have enough time to have an emergency meeting if it was that
Right.
critical. But we would also have enough time to have a special meeting
Okay.
specifically to that
Hmm.
situation. Right?
Jamie, our lawyer is very good, but, and no dispersion on the profession of lawyers, but I've never seen a fast one. I've seen only one fast one, and he's retired.
So I think we'll write it up.
Yep.
And then we'll adjust it or whatever, but I think we're on the right track.
Okay.
Wonderful. Fixed assets capitalization policy?
Did it need to be updated with more cost? Wasn't that the one of?
This is one that we should
I
have,
can't bring mine
It's-
up.
this is one that we should have
I had to go through.
reviewed at
Reviewed,
least
yeah.
every year.
Yeah, and
Yeah, that's what I,
increase the values if we need to.
So I should talk with, I should have Ellen check this one.
Yes.
For the monetary amount.
oh, she's the one that helped us do this.
Right.
So we, at least helped me understand how this was supposed to work. I remember
It's
a
8
few
years
years
old.
back.
It's
That was
8
from
years old.
6/12/16. Or 6/22/16.
Yeah,
I had a question on some.
And I know this is what she still follows, but
Yes.
maybe it does need to be updated, and I don't know if that would come from her or.
and I also think that we should, on this one, we should have it somehow designated that it gets reviewed yearly.
Okay.
This policy should definitely be reviewed yearly because our capital assets,
Change.
they
Change,
change yearly,
yes, they do.
right? So this one should definitely be on a yearly review.
And you can ask Ellen, but we may want to have some paragraph in there that states per a grant or per, if we get outside funding, sometimes that affects how you disperse of an item
Such a,
within so much time and whatnot. And I know from this, working for the state, I don't know how it works for municipality, but I know for working
Yeah,
for the
but
state.
that's stuff like, say, equipment, Joel's equipment's tracked by Joel and kind of me too. I think that's mostly like department heads are responsible for tracking their assets and what needs to happen with them after. I don't think we should put it in this policy necessarily.
I just,
And check
just
it
a
out.
question, that's all. Just make sure we don't, that way we don't have
Yeah,
to pay a part of a grant box or something.
Right. No, I get what you're saying. That makes
But it
sense.
definitely should be probably yearly as things change.
Passenger policy for town vehicles.
I thought that was fine.
Oh,
But that's been since '05 too. That should be,
Well, I was wondering, cause community service and other passengers. So it's like,
As authorized by the. select.
okay, that was like,
well, back in the day, they used to have the helpers.
yeah.
We had an individual that worked with the bad boy crew. And so he utilized one of the town trucks to take
Yeah,
and
okay.
supervise them and stuff.
Now I think in one of the other ones, it says we're not allowed to have passengers in our personnel policy.
Okay,
So I just think it's a little conflicted, but we can, as long as it's authorized, select board, I guess it'd be okay.
I guess
I
that would
would just maybe change the wording in the personnel
turn
policy.
to personnel, that it's not allowed unless a prior approval of the select board.
Mhm.
Because we may do something like, my sister over in Cambridge, they do, the select, their, whatever they call their select board. They have where they have ride-arounds on the, during the winter with the town crew. But that would be something that the select board could approve and then,
so I'll just check the wording in the personnel policy to make sure it matches.
Mhm.
What's next?
All right,
Yep.
we're gonna look into that and make sure it's not conflicting.
Yep.
Procedures for board commissions.
And that's one I had
or
where
Committee meetings.
we have the little thing on here that it needs to be reviewed every 3 years. The approval date. The last time it was approved was 8/8/2019.
Yeah, that's,
So we're behind. There.
So with this policy, is this something that we should add to our personnel policy? Is appointed people get the personnel policy as well? Is that how, or do they?
standalone.
Yeah, I think it should stand alone and this will be one of my first shares as soon as it's done and approved by you guys. It's gonna be an important one to share with all the.
Have them
all our boards, yeah.
And then,
sign the personnel policy like we sign,
yeah, and then
maybe having them.
off on it.
Right, you could turn around and each board would have a copy and every member of that board would sign the dotted line.
That's a good
When
idea.
they're approved, when they're appointed, because they're all appointed different times. You could just,
On the town website, do we have where the people can go in and look at policies?
We do not, but I can very easily add it once
Once we're done with this.
organized.
I think that you should, so the public, it should be broken down to like employee policies and then regular policies, and that way people can look.
Yeah, like our ordinances are
Right, exactly.
up there, so then we could have employee policies too.
Mhm.
The other thing I'd like this is to be, I mean, you were talking about that, you'll have a change in membership. Have everybody sign once a year. At the begin, when you're doing, when the new board comes on, that's when you sign it. And have everybody sign it every year so that you, so
Should be that
nobody
way
can make an
anyway.
excuse that they didn't know the policy.
Right, it should be that way anyways.
Do all our employees have town emails?
Wait, no,
Then what I was thinking was out then.
no.
I was just thinking if they were, then we could put anything town employee wise or board wise could be on a shared drive for them to access versus the public, but.
Right.
Well, it's public information.
It's public, yes.
And I have had requests from the public to put policies
Yes.
online, so I feel like that's
I mean,
meeting
any
a
place that you
request
go,
from
like the
us.
school board or whatever, they have other policies
And-
there.
In reality, there's no secrets here.
No,
There isn't.
So it's much easier just to put it out there
Mhm.
right.
and be done with it.
Right, and that's even like if somebody's looking for employment and they want to see what our policies are, they can go on and look, because I do that sometimes.
Yep.
Or another town wants to look at your policies
Yep.
to see what your policies is.
Right,
I mean, that's what I do.
I've done that before, absolutely, go on Bennington's policy and look up a policy
Yep.
or
No,
a procedure. Yep,
And It's a good town. I'm kidding.
For now.
I've
Very
been
good on that one.
Shasta too.
Mm-hmm.
Purchasing policy. This one we've been over.
Yep, we've been over that. That was 8/23.
Yep.
So that's pretty well up to date.
The only thing that might need attention is the procurement on certain amounts, like for the equipment. Like we talked about for Joel, he went out and got quotes on the truck instead of putting it out to. If you look at this, he would have had to put it out to bid, but because you approved him doing it differently, that's okay. But if you want to make that change a more permanent thing, it should be addressed in this policy.
So bid and or,
Yeah, we should change it to bid and or
well, 3 quotes.
3 quotes per approval of the select board.
Mhm.
Yep.
Bid process. Little bit process. Federal regulations or bid process.
You good with that one?
Yep.
Provide acquisition.
Animal control policy.
So this was we had the unplanned animal procedure, but then Carl sent along the animal control policy. So what does the board think about having an animal control policy and including the unclaimed animal section into it? I know the
Well-
ordinance kind of addresses it, but a policy, I feel like goes more in depth.
It's a town of Reading animal control officer policy. So it's a policy governing the animal control officer.
Which is slightly different than the job description and an ordinance.
Well, correct, but that's exactly what we're expecting out of our animal control officer, am I correct?
The more specific, the better.
And, yeah, I mean, because in reality, he is a officer of the health board, not a law enforcement officer.
He or she.
My apologies, he or she, or they.
Individual.
Oh. Do we want to? What would be the best route to go? Hypothetically.
Let
What's
somebody
the,
else do the animal control, because that seems like it's a huge pain in the course all the time.
What's that?
hire like a company to do it.
Yeah.
It's somebody else.
It'd be like
We
animal-
hire like Cat's Eye or
animal
something.
control is huge. Takes up a huge amount of time.
It does, completely.
Mhm.
I mean, that's pretty short and sweet.
It's short and sweet and to the point,
It's got the.
and it doesn't like go on beyond the scope of the job.
It's within what we are, at our expectations.
Our expectation.
Yeah.
Yes. So I don't have a problem with that being attached to it.
So this is one I'll redraft
Yes,
under town of Pownell, add the pertinent info from this and then bring it back.
yes,
Yep.
please.
I feel like they really use the downstairs quite a bit. They have meetings a lot down there. It's
Yeah.
They do.
Good.
down there.
That's good.
Yeah, nice turnout on.
The unclaimed animal procedure is, I like that too.
Okay,
Yeah,
We should incorporate that in somehow.
perfect.
Mhm.
I couldn't be here Sunday.
I just popped in and said hi, and
I was.
there's quite a few people
I
here.
was planting Christmas trees.
Oh, that's nice.
I thought our thing was 10 days on that 15.
You're helping a friend.
My
I
mistake.
think the law might be 10 days.
No, the law says 10.
Yeah.
I don't mind staying with the 15 days.
Okay, no,
I don't mind. I'm not.
I didn't know if I misunderstood.
And, make it 15. Okay.
As long as we're on the same page.
Personnel policy.
So some of these kind of are in the personnel policy.
Harassment's in here, right?
Yes,
It should be.
but it's just not as like, it's not as detailed.
I can't bring mine up. I don't know why I can only have so many. But anyways, are we on the harassment?
I feel like the sexual harassment and harassment should definitely be in the personnel policy.
Yes,
Yes.
but it's also wicked.
Why are
Is
they,
that
they should be a separate
VLCT?
policy.
Is that VLCT?
I don't know.
I think we need to check with VLCT and see if there's a shorter version, because who's gonna read 6 pages?
A
think-
lawyer.
Mm-hmm. Got that right.
I think there's a shorter policy
So the-
out there.
And the two policies aren't matching, I don't think. With what's exactly in the personnel, but it's definitely, both are in there, but one's different, I
And
think.
then the harassment, it's got town administrator again, so we might want to change the verbiage of that.
Well, I think the verbiage and all of them needs to be changed.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, the town administrator.
the social media policy. We need to really
Yes.
concentrate on that one and update that one as well as the sexual harassment and the.
Right.
the Harassment
Right,
policy.
so the sexual harassment and harassment, I'm gonna reach out to VLCT for an abbreviated version
Mm-hmm.
and compare it to what's in the personnel policy and try to get that.
This social media policy, when I was reading that, with that situation a few weeks ago, this thing makes zero sense. It really doesn't.
Because the social media, the agent's wrong, the address is wrong, the emails are all wrong,
Well, it's not even that. It's,
and it's,
So
yeah,
that's a policy on how the town deals with their social media.
but it's,
Not a policy on how we deal with social media.
so it really, there's really, in my opinion, there's a huge gray area here. Okay, this social media policy right here, to me, maybe I'm wrong, is basically if someone is using one of the town's websites
right.
to do something.
And there should be any social media to do with the
Okay.
town.
But I also, I believe that we need to do something that where if a town employee, whether appointed or elected, is badgering the hell out of somebody or the town or whatever, I think we need to look into that and see if we can do something with that.
I think I saw in the personnel policy where
I
it
think it
says
was in there, but
that you can, when you are on social media, that you should state that this is, you're speaking as an individual and not as a town.
My
That's
opinion.
not happening. Some of our appointed officials have not done that. And it doesn't look the greatest if they're saying negative things about the town.
Correct.
And there needs to be that,
well, I also think that people need to be able to express their own opinions,
Yes.
but they need to
Free
state that.
speech.
but they are speaking as
An individual.
Joe Blow,
Gardner town resident,
town resident.
Right.
right?
Correct.
Not Mike Gardner select board member,
Correct.
Right.
okay? And we need to have that in there. That's exactly what I'm going with that. We need to have that somewhere, whether it's in personnel policy
Think
or social media policy. We need to make sure that that's in there somewhere. Because we can't stop someone from.
Personnel
speech.
policy
Right, we're not interfering with anybody's freedom of speech, but what we're
in the,
what we have issues with is somebody knowingly or unknowingly using their position as a platform.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's face it, when you're bashing somebody, you're using your position as a platform.
Platform, bingo. I'm being nice. Trying to be nice, Mike.
I don't beat around the bush. Come on, we all know that.
Yeah.
So that needs to be stated clearly in the personnel policy, which I think it is. But other than the wrong names in this, is there any changes that you can think of other than that? Making sure
The
that,
only thing, so and that was my part of, if we don't give appointees the personnel policy, they won't get,
but they do get the personnel policy
Okay.
and they sign off on, they assign addendum B, which you
Okay.
signed, I don't know if you remember. And it says, I agree to adhere to the terms in the personnel.
as long as
policy.
it's in the personnel, then.
Yeah.
As long as they have it given to them.
Yeah, that's,
Mike, would you feel more comfortable if that was added in on the personnel policy? Or have a separate policy where they?
It's in the personnel
Yeah.
policy.
Correct, okay, but what I was getting at is where they had to actually sign,
That's on the personnel.
that they would, that here is this wordage, and I signed that I accept it.
Right, that's in the personnel policy.
Or,
William just looked that up.
it's,
Well,
and
yes,
that's what they sign, as it says.
yeah, they
I know.
Personnel policy, and they,
sign the whole
They
personnel.
sign the whole personnel policy, but sometimes you sign the whole policy. It's like accepting, a website thing and you never read the,
Well, yeah, but so,
Should be.
so that responsibility falls on the person signing that policy.
Right.
So if they don't read it,
okay,
that's their problem.
Right.
Because it's not anybody in the town of Pownell. It's not anybody's responsibility
but their
to
own.
point that out to whoever signed that policy.
Okay.
and if you're gonna point that out on that specific form, there's
Gotta do,
a ton of other things I could think of we'd want to point out to make sure that they're.
I'm just asking because that
Are you sure
question,
you put that
I understand that, but that question would have been asked, so.
They're adults, they better figure
So
out.
something important is that, do you guys have it updated yearly with an employee or no?
Yep.
Yeah,
Well, we are now.
yeah.
okay,
So after we do this process and we get the personnel policy updated, the timing works out perfect because 1 year ago I sent out the personnel policy and asked all employees
Right.
and everyone to sign off on it. And I will do the same exact
because
process.
wherever I've worked, you've always had to do that.
Sure.
It was definitely sexual harassment, the personnel policy, and usually something to do with your health insurance that you always had to sign yearly,
And last year,
or at least read an initial.
you all made it contingent on raises,
Yeah,
This year,
the sign off for raises.
Right.
okay,
but if we just start signing every year, it'll be a lot easier to accept.
absolutely.
Yeah, and it's part of the process now. It's
Yep.
normal route
Okay.
for us.
I would just update the names in there and then email the supervisors. That looks good.
We good on that one?
Yep.
Travel policy.
The only thing I had on there was, it was fine, except for the meal reimbursements. We should increase that, and that should be done.
$23 for lunch.
That should be done on a yearly basis.
Yeah, what are you gonna get for $12?
I mean, that was 10/31.
You can't even get a-
2008.
Well, you'll have to add to the $12 when you go to the McDonald's drive-thru or whatever.
It's mileage only reimbursed after the first 20 miles. We have not been following that policy.
Right,
After the first 20
I think
minutes,
mileage,
After the first
I
20
think
miles.
mileage should be reimbursed from the
Yeah.
word go.
and that should be whatever the
I was
government
thinking they
standard,
whatever the standard rate is.
right,
It's the federal,
yeah,
yeah.
the federal,
also add the mileage policy to the personnel policy because, I know people could be using that. They'd have to look for this. Where the personnel is given to them.
That's actually true. This probably should just go into the personnel.
That last little bit, at least
yes.
the travel policy with the mileage and all that. I think you're right.
Yeah, I don't think this needs to be a separate policy.
Now, doing mileage, you gotta do that separate in visions, right? You don't do that with your regular time sheet.
No, you do it on your time sheet.
Don't you do it, all right.
I know,
Because then when Hannah data enters it, she puts it in as,
I'm knowledgeable.
Under the red account.
Zoning administrator, I never put it in. I used to put a little, it's just too. It's just, I don't have time. I don't have time to keep track of it, so it's what it is. For me.
and then how do you guys feel? I just want to verify something on this travel policy. Do you feel as though, say, because we're getting ready to hire a new animal control officer in the past? we have been charged for mileage to travel to the kennel. I now thinking about it, don't feel that's appropriate because that's traveling to your job. Like, we don't claim mileage to drive here. So are you thinking we should put that in there? Like, if you're driving to your regular job duties, you shouldn't be charging mileage. But if you're driving,
That's a good point.
That's a very good point.
like driving to the
Right.
kennel is an expected job responsibility, whereas like a call at 10 o'clock at night to drive to find an animal is not. I mean,
Right.
That's reasonable, or driving to a shelter to transport an animal is reasonable.
The only thing that I thought about is if the vehicle, he's transporting animals in his vehicle. So he is using the vehicle for work
Well,
sometimes.
if he's transporting, then he's,
That's correct. And then there's not a problem. But if he's driving to the transfer station to feed the dogs,
Yeah,
you shouldn't be paying a mile.
like, wherever
The
you're.
rationale is he shouldn't be paid mileage because his work starts, it'd be like me, it'd be like the town
paying me to drive here.
to drive,
Right.
no, to drive here to go to work.
Yeah.
Right. So I think maybe we'll just make sure that the language is right
Okay.
to address those kind of.
Yeah, 'cause
I'm gonna play devil's advocate on that one for a minute, because, and like I said, it doesn't matter to me because I'm not, as a zoning administrator, I'm not charging mileage.
Yeah,
But, so the zoning administrator and the health officer too are expected to travel. That's part of your job, right?
Mhm.
I mean, I can't do the zoning administrator on your permit from my house. I have to drive, or may have to
Have to
drive,
do a site visit.
right, do a site visit. But that's an expected,
But you're going to somebody else's stuff.
right, at that,
You're not going,
that's
you're not going.
expected of the zoning administrator's job.
Correct, but you're not driving, would you charge mileage to drive here? To look at,
Just saying that.
I understand that.
I have an email today from a lady who wants to meet me next week at her property location. Okay? So is it an expected thing as the zoning administrator, that's part of my job, is to have to travel to a property? Or is it a mileage reimbursement item?
Okay, but we could turn around and say we won't charge mileage if you're going to the facility to feed the dogs.
right, like a permanently.
Okay, that's where I'm getting at. That's where I'm getting at.
Somebody saying, well, the zoning administrator gets, the health officer gets mileage.
Right, but,
job.
right, but I think that,
The constable gets,
I understand what you're saying, Mike.
Yeah,
But I think that we can differentiate the two by going,
just want to make sure we do it.
you're going to work to feed the dogs. We shouldn't be paying you mileage to go feed the dogs.
I'm not disagreeing with it at all.
But you understand, you have to be the devil's advocate here on this.
Because the health officer
Right,
and zoning administrator, for example,
Right.
a little bit,
can get paid mileage when it's probably really part of their job.
But if
But it
they're,
isn't, but it is.
but if now the dog office, the animal control officer is going to somebody's house,
That's-
yes, that's different.
I agree.
You going to somebody's house to do a permit is different.
Okay. I just want to make sure we're clear.
Okay.
I don't want to go back 2 years from now.
Has, all
No, it won't take that long.
required to complete timesheets and the performance of their duties locally are not subject to this policy unless the employees are traveling for training, seminars, or special meetings, not part of their normal duties. So this one we're looking at is supposed to be only if they're traveling. I take, like, if you're going to like a special training.
Right. So you had
And then
to
we'll have to create one for the personnel policy specific to, appointed
I-
positions and.
yeah, I think
What's the point?
taking this
That's a
and
very
adding
good
it into,
point.
yeah, into the personnel policy with all those details, though, just kind of laying it out.
You'll have to separate what's travel. And I was thinking too, like when I worked for Energizer, if it was over a certain amount of miles, they would get a rental.
Right.
And you wouldn't be paying for somebody's vehicle, personal.
Right.
Well, that, and if it was,
So, we could maybe add that to this one. If it's over a certain amount of miles, we'll
Yep.
a rental vehicle, but I, and the personnel should definitely say, for appointed people. And then maybe for like certain positions. Certain positions we will pay for, but it's not, the travel policy, I think would be different than the mileage policy and the personnel, is that?
Yes, you're 100% right on that.
Okay.
But they would take and run a vehicle if there was more than one of you going to the same place, correct? Fire points. So they offer
Certain
company
miles.
cars too.
They would,
I think we need to adjust the meal reimbursements for sure.
Yes.
Coffee and
Yeah.
donuts, sick.
Yeah.
It's true.
Wow, I know.
I'm like, where can you buy lunch for $12 anywhere?
can't even get McDonald's for that.
I know, that's what I'm
I
saying.
mean, that's it. I mean, you're investing in, you're probably, the town is probably investing a good chunk of money in your education. And we're gonna go, hold it. You can go to McDonald's, but you're gonna have to chip in 50% just so that you can grab a bite to eat, maybe.
No, that definitely needs to be
Don't,
addressed for today's prices.
and maybe somebody else has a better way they're doing it.
Yeah, I'll. look
Some
into it.
people, I mean,
I'll update this one and update the PP and bring it back.
Okay.
just go places and bring back
The
something.
town email policy. I think that's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah,
Yeah, I didn't have nothing on there.
No.
We just need to write that into a
We
policy.
don't have any issues with anybody using personal emails for their town accounts, as in appointed officials
Not that I,
or elected.
not that I know of.
Okay.
We do have one policy that I didn't get the email about, but it was about temporary employees. And they're only allowed to do 20 hours a week. So change that.
Yeah, because we have temporary employees that. More than that.
are they following a state guideline or do we have our own guideline? I guess it's,
They're temporary full-time employees versus temporary part-time employees.
Seasonal, more or less.
Yes.
So I don't know if we want to create a seasonal and then a temporary, because maybe we could have a temporary colleague come in and do something someday, but maybe we create a seasonal thing that it is 40 hours a week or whatever. But I just noticed the temporary employee and
but you can change that by putting a cap on the hours. And that would cover you for a seasonal person. If they.
well, the
40
season,
hours.
I'd leave the seasonal at 40 because the temporary is already 20.
Mhm.
So it's like you could leave the cap with the temporary employee and then the seasonal could be a 40 hour a week,
Mhm.
just whenever in the summer mainly. But otherwise,
Okay.
Treasurer specific policies.
Moving right along.
So did I understand the check release policy correctly?
It's payroll only.
If we're not here to sign, but wasn't the amount $8,000 and isn't payroll usually around $12,000 a week? When we have to up that amount?
That's one check over 8,000 the way I read it.
Okay,
Yeah.
didn't know if I was reading it properly.
Checks over $8,000.
Okay,
Vendor billing
And-
or checks over.
Like I said previously, even though she probably hasn't seen this policy in a very long time, she follows these policies. She knows them.
Ellen,
Yes.
okay.
that's why he had to text me to sign. Or you, or Ellen, or whatever. It's like,
Gotta have them signed.
I know, it's fine.
So you guys can sign warrants tonight too.
Yeah,
Okay,
well, we can't sign it as a board. I can sign the warrants.
Sign.
Yeah.
Someone's gotta sign.
Someone has,
At least one of you, please sign.
somebody has to sign warrants tonight, but not all of us.
Or you're gonna be getting a call in the morning.
Delinquent tax. Policy.
I don't know, the rates and everything are correct in here, but I don't know if we get with Ellen, maybe.
that's what I asked. My question was, are the rates correct?
Yeah,
Sure.
I think they
I
are.
first sign up.
There is legislation going
I'm
on.
looking at them, because I'd already talked to her.
Oh,
And she
okay.
says, just send them to her and she can look at them. She says, there's no big deal. If, we're not gonna probably change anything, but
Yeah,
we haven't gone through them all
I
yet.
just had changed it.
She can turn around and leave that, her, she can send them back here and we can finalize them.
Right.
And we may need to, I'll talk to Ellen about this. We added, remember on the, we did a floor vote at town meeting for the actual date that taxes were due.
Mhm.
We want to add some language about that, but I'll check with her.
Okay.
Yep.
that.
I didn't find anything wrong with any of hers, just if the amounts and the percentages were correct.
I believe they are.
I believe they are.
For the last tax sale that I was.
Yeah, I think.
But-
so too.
Thank you for.
No problem.
The delinquent tax collector stuff is going to change this year because of the new law that's, their new bill they're putting through. So that'll all change up here in
Right.
a few months anyway. So whenever they send us the stuff, it tells us that it changes.
I don't know if it's been voted upon yet, but I believe it's out of committee.
It's out of committee. It'll pass this year. I believe there's enough momentum. It'll pass this year in one form or another.
Any other thoughts on treasurer specific policies?
Well,
I thought they were pretty good. I think we just asked her some of those basic questions and looked at it.
And then
Yeah.
format, so they don't look all crazy.
Yeah.
And I think those policies, the treasurer specific policies,
Mhm.
probably can stay. Those are probably policies that need to be reviewed. Anytime, and I don't know how we write this in there, but anytime the treasurer changes. Or the delinquent tax collector changes.
maybe we could put it as in whenever, after an election.
We're all gonna die.
After, we could maybe change that to like after an election. That way, I mean, the downside is
That's what it said.
Ellen might end up getting reelected, but if we just turn around and say, this policy gets reviewed upon the election of a,
Of the treasurer or delinquent tax collector,
Right, yep.
of the treasurer and or
and or.
tax collector. That makes sense?
Mhm.
Well, then I think those are good.
Okay, so I just had another question. Did the select board have any policies that needed to be updated? This is the only one that I have, and that was from 2018.
As governing us. The select board.
What is it?
Just even know what it is.
You just said that, right?
I was, these are the policies I have.
I didn't know if this
These are
was
the select board
standing
standing
rules.
Meetings will run in an orderly and professional manner. Control will be kept at all times. Those found out of order will be removed. The agenda will be presented in the following manner and voted on by the board. Name of the item and individual wishing to speak. Items not having a speaker will also be noted. Items may be tabled or removed from the agenda. Some items may be scheduled for another meeting. Board may limit meeting length by majority vote of the board. Member of the public which harass others or disrupts the meeting will be warned and removed if their activities continue.
That's out of our handbook.
Right, so
That's,
we don't need to have that in policy or anything. We don't need to update it yearly or anything. Okay, just making sure. I mean,
I think we're
3/8/18 was quite a long time ago.
It's probably one of the
hey, look at that.
latest ones.
Agenda.
That's reviewed.
highly open.
Jesus, it finally opened.
I think your things are updating still.
I can't even get the agenda. I had a whole thingy and then I don't know where it went.
They're all there, I don't know what.
Yeah, they're in there. It's-
So are we good with our policies and
I think
I think so.
pretty good.
all good, right?
I think that went
Yeah.
really well.
Me too.
We gotta direct some of the social media needs attention first probably, and then I think
Oh,
our,
I have 4 pages of notes, so.
yeah, we can add some stuff to our personnel policy and streamline some of the stuff and make it a little easier for everybody.
Yes.
Perfect. If there's no more discussion of policies, changes or additions, I'll entertain public comment. No hands? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second,
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone, for attending. Have a great weekend.
Um,